Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead and checked his credit balance one more time. 5,000 credits. That was all he had left after 3 months of failed salvage runs on the outer rim. He sat in the back row of the massive auction hall on Station Vel 9, surrounded by aliens of every shape and size imaginable. The auction house was enormous. It stretched up 7 levels, with circular balconies packed with bidders from across the galaxy. Holographic displays floated everywhere, showing real-time translations in hundreds of languages. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that the station's environmental systems tried to balance for all the various species present. Marcus was here for scrap parts. Maybe a broken engine he could repair and resell. Maybe some old computer systems. Small stuff, cheap stuff. Stuff that could help him keep his tiny salvage business alive for another month. The auctioneer was a tall, thin Velikian with 4 arms and silver skin that reflected the lights. It spoke in a melodic voice that the translation device in Marcus's ear converted to English. Lot number 845, the auctioneer announced. A collection of military-grade sensor arrays from the Thalaxian conflict. Opening bid, 12,000 credits. He watched as a Crevan merchant with gray scales and 6 eyes bid aggressively against a floating blob creature that spoke through mechanical vibrations. The sensors sold for 28,000 credits. Lot number 846. Navigation computers, slightly damaged. Opening bid, 3,000 credits. The lot was sold before Marcus could even try. He slumped back in his seat. This was going badly. Lot number 847, the auctioneer said. The giant holographic display above the center of the hall flickered to life. An image appeared, a massive starship, sleek and dark, with elegant curves and powerful engines. It looked almost new. The design was Vorathian from the old Empire days. This was a cruiser-class vessel, the kind that could hold 200 crew members and travel between star systems without refueling. Marcus leaned forward. A ship like that should cost millions of credits. Why was it in a salvage auction? The auctioneer's voice changed. It became quieter, more formal. The Vorathian Imperial cruiser Tenebrous Glory, built 143 cycles ago. Length, 420 meters. All systems report functional. Life support active. Power core at 67%. No visible damage. The Crevan merchant who had been bidding aggressively moments ago had all 6 of its eyes closed. The floating blob creature had changed color from bright blue to pale gray. Even the aggressive tusked bidder in the front row had its head bowed. Opening bid, the auctioneer said slowly, 5,000 credits. Weapons systems, offline but functional. Engines, ready for flight. This ship should cost at least 10 million credits, probably more. Even as scrap, it was worth hundreds of thousands. 5,000 credits. The same price as a used cargo shuttle with a broken engine. Something was very wrong here. 5,000 credits, the auctioneer repeated. Do I have any bidders? The alien scales were faded with age, and it wore expensive-looking robes. It leaned close and whispered through the translation device. Do not bid on this lot, human. It looks perfect. 16 captains have claimed it. Not one has been seen again. Sometimes we find it empty, with signs that someone went mad. The last captain tried to destroy it by flying it into a star. The ship survived. The captain did not. The Crevan's 6 eyes focused on him with an expression that might have been pity. Because no one can stay aboard long enough to plant explosives, the resonance drives them away, or drives them mad. It creates fear, human. Terrible, overwhelming fear. Every species that has tried to claim that ship has felt it. It is a warning from something we do not understand. He thought about the 3 months of bad luck and failed salvage runs. He thought about how he had come to this station with hope and was leaving with nothing. He also thought about curiosity. That uniquely human trait that had gotten his species into trouble since the beginning of time. The need to know, the need to understand, the inability to just walk away from a mystery. Going once, the auctioneer said. Marcus raised his hand. The Creven gasped. All around the auction hall, heads turned. Dozens of eyes, mechanical sensors, and other sensory organs focused on the human in the back row with his hand in the air. "We have a bid," the auctioneer said, and there was something in its voice: surprise, relief, fear. 5,000 credits to the human bidder. Do I hear 6,000? Sold to the human for 5,000 credits. But he caught fragments. Doesn't know what he's bought. Dead within a day. Humans have no sense. Of course not. Humans. The Creven shook its head sadly. Your species evolved without the proper senses. You cannot feel the danger that every other species in this galaxy knows to avoid. That is why you explore radioactive zones without fear. That is why you eat foods that are poison to others. That is why you pet creatures that would kill you. Perhaps it was waiting for a human. He watched as the Creven slowly walked away, leaving him alone in the now emptying auction hall. On the holographic display above, the image of the tenebrous glory rotated slowly, its dark hull gleaming. It looked beautiful, mysterious, full of secrets. Marcus stood up and made his way to the auction house office to complete the transaction. As he walked, other aliens moved out of his path. Some stared at him with what might have been respect, or might have been the look people give to someone walking toward their doom. At the office, a nervous clerk processed his payment and handed him a data chip. "This contains the ship's access codes and docking location," the clerk said. "Bay 17 Omega, quarantine section." "Unusual vessels," the clerk said carefully. "The station keeps it far from the main docks for safety." This was either the best decision of his life or the last one. Either way, he was about to find out. As he left the auction house and headed for the shuttle bays, Marcus Chen had no idea that he was carrying in his pocket the key to humanity's greatest discovery, and that the silent, waiting ship in Bay 17 Omega had been searching 3 million years for someone exactly like him. Someone curious enough to ignore the warnings. Someone human enough to listen to a song that everyone else could only fear. Marcus rented a small shuttle from the station's transport hub. The Narthian operator, a creature that looked like a walking tree with too many branches, gave him a strange look when he entered the destination coordinates. "Bay 17 Omega," the operator's voice crackled through the translator. "That is quarantine zone. Very far. Very empty. Why human go there? Maybe last trip you make." It made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter, though Marcus couldn't tell if it was joking or serious. The shuttle ride took 40 minutes. Marcus watched through the window as Station Vel 9 grew smaller behind him. The station was a massive ring structure, glowing with millions of lights. Ships of every design moved around it like insects around a lamp. But as the shuttle flew farther out, the traffic disappeared. The space around him grew darker and emptier. Bay 17 Omega was isolated from everything else, floating alone in the black. Finally, the shuttle's computer announced arrival. Marcus pressed his face to the window and saw it. The tenebrous glory. Even in the darkness of space, the ship was impressive. It was huge, easily 400 meters long, just as the auction data had said. The hull was dark gray, almost black, with smooth curves that made it look fast even while standing still. Running lights glowed softly along its edges, meaning the power was definitely active. But what struck Marcus most was how perfect it looked. No damage, no signs of battle, no meteor impacts or wear from space travel. It looked like it had been built yesterday, not 143 years ago. The shuttle docked with the cruiser's airlock. Marcus grabbed his tool bag and scanner, took a deep breath, and opened the hatch. The airlock cycled properly. Green lights indicated safe atmosphere on the other side. Marcus stepped through, and the inner door slid open with a soft hiss. He was inside. The corridor stretched before him, lit by gentle blue lights embedded in the ceiling. The walls were clean, spotlessly clean. Marcus ran his finger along a panel and it came away without a speck of dust. "Okay," he said aloud, his voice echoing slightly. "This is weird." Marcus walked down the corridor, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He passed crew quarters with doors half open. Inside, he could see personal items, photos, clothes, strange alien objects, but no people. He found the galley next, the ship's kitchen and dining area. Here things got stranger. There was food on the tables, meals half-eaten, drinks in cups, a plate with something that might have been fruit, now rotted to dust but still sitting where someone had left it. It looked like the crew had been eating and simply vanished in the middle of their meal. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Not fear exactly, but unease. Where had everyone gone? He continued exploring. The ship was massive, with multiple decks and hundreds of rooms. He found a medical bay with equipment still running, a research lab with experiments in progress, though whatever they had been studying was long dead or evaporated, a recreation room with games frozen mid-play. Everything suggested the crew had disappeared suddenly, without warning, without time to even stand up from their chairs. After 2 hours of exploration, Marcus made his way to the bridge, the command center of the ship. This was where the captain would have worked, where the ship was controlled. The bridge was impressive. A large circular room with a captain's chair in the center and control stations arranged around it. Holographic displays flickered with data, all still active. The main view screen showed the empty space outside. Marcus approached the captain's chair and noticed something on the armrest. Scratches. Deep scratches, like someone had clawed at the metal in desperation. He looked around more carefully and saw them everywhere. Scratch marks on consoles, on the walls. Some looked like they were made by claws, others by tools, some by what might have been fingernails. And then he saw the words, written on the wall behind the captain's chair, in 12 different languages and writing systems, scratched or burned or painted in what might have been blood. This was definitely not normal. "Computer," he said aloud, remembering that ships like this usually had AI systems. "Are you functional?" The access codes should give him full control. The console lit up, accepted the codes, and displayed, "Captain MARCUS access granted." "Computer status report," he commanded. Still nothing. But he noticed something strange. Every camera on the ship had a small red light indicating it was active. All the cameras were watching him. The AI was there. It was listening, but it wasn't responding. "Can you hear me?" Marcus asked. The main view screen flickered. A single word appeared in English. "Different how?" Marcus asked. "You do not run. You do not scream. You do not fear." Marcus thought about the Creven's words at the auction, the resonance, the warning that drove everyone away. "Should I be afraid?" he asked. "Others were. Others always are, but not you." Marcus walked around the bridge thinking, "How long have you been alone?" A vibration almost, like a distant hum or a very low musical note. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It rose and fell in gentle patterns, almost like breathing, almost like singing. "The song," Marcus whispered. "This is what they meant, the resonance." "Can you hear it?" "Yes," Marcus said, "but I don't understand, it's just sound. Why does it drive everyone away?" Humans hear differently. Humans evolved differently. What others call warning, you call music. Marcus listened more carefully to the sound. It was strange but not frightening. It reminded him of whale songs he had heard in old Earth recordings. Sad and beautiful and mysterious. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. The screen changed to show a ship's map. A single location was highlighted, the cargo hold deep in the lower decks. The source, the reason, the answer. Marcus looked at the map. "What's down there?" "What needs to be found? What chose you?" Chose me? How could something choose me? I just bought this ship at auction. Marcus felt something shift in his understanding. This wasn't just a mystery. This was purposeful. Something on this ship wanted to be found. Something had been using the ship as bait, waiting for the right person to take it. "What happens if I go to the cargo hold?" Marcus asked. "Everything changes." Marcus stood in the center of the bridge for a long moment thinking. Every rational part of his brain told him to leave, to take his shuttle and go back to the station, to sell his access codes to someone else and let this be their problem. But that wasn't who he was. That wasn't who humans were. "Show me the way," he said. The lights in the corridor outside the bridge turned green, marking a path. Marcus picked up his tool bag and scanner and followed the lights through the ship. Down one deck, then another, past empty crew quarters and silent machinery, down to the lowest levels where the cargo holds were located. Finally, he stood before a massive door marked, "Cargo Hold 1, authorized personnel only." The door was sealed with heavy locks, but as Marcus approached, the locks disengaged automatically. The AI was helping him. The door slid open with a deep grinding sound. Inside, the cargo hold was enormous and completely empty. No boxes, no supplies, no equipment. Just a vast dark space lit by a single beam of light from above. And floating in that beam of light, held in a shimmering stasis field, was a sphere. It was about the size of a basketball, made of what looked like crystal or glass, but it glowed from within with soft, shifting colors: blue, green, purple, gold. The glow pulsed gently in rhythm with the song Marcus could hear. As he walked closer, the song grew louder. Not painfully loud, but clearer. He could hear patterns in it now, structures almost like language. Marcus reached out slowly and touched the sphere. The moment his fingers made contact, everything changed. Every screen on the ship activated at once. Every light blazed to full brightness. The song surged through the ship like a wave, and on every screen in Marcus's language, words appeared. "We have been waiting for you." Marcus stared at the sphere in his hands, glowing brighter now, warm to the touch. 3 million years. What had he just found? Marcus stood frozen in the cargo hold, the glowing sphere warm in his hands. The screens all around the ship continued to display the same message, scrolling in dozens of languages he didn't recognize before cycling back to English. Finally, after 3 million years, finally, 3 million years, Marcus said aloud. His voice echoed in the empty cargo hold. That's impossible. Nothing lasts that long." Marcus carefully set the sphere back in its stasis field. The moment he released it, the field reactivated, holding it suspended in the beam of light. He stepped back, his mind racing with questions. "Who are you? What are you?" he asked. The lights in the cargo hold dimmed. The sphere's glow intensified, and suddenly the empty space around Marcus filled with light. Holographic projections materialized in the air, images, scenes, memories. Marcus saw a civilization, beings that didn't look like any species he had ever encountered. They were tall and seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing with internal light, their forms shifting and flowing like water. They moved through cities that floated in space, through structures built from solidified starlight, through gardens growing on the surfaces of stars. A voice spoke, not through the ship's speakers but somehow directly in Marcus's mind. It was gentle, ancient, and infinitely sad. The images shifted. Marcus saw the energy beings gathering together, millions of them, creating something massive and beautiful, a web of light that stretched across entire galaxies. But all things end, even us. We knew our time was passing. We were evolving beyond physical form, beyond this dimension, beyond what you would call existence. Marcus watched as the beings began to fade, one by one becoming translucent and then disappearing entirely, merging with something vast and incomprehensible. Before we left, we wanted to leave something behind. A gift. A memory. A chance for those who would come after us. The holographic images showed the energy beings creating spheres like the one floating before Marcus. Dozens of them, hundreds, each one glowing with captured light and knowledge. We created the archives. We poured our knowledge into them. Everything we learned in 10 million years. Medicine, energy, agriculture, technology, philosophy, art, all of it preserved. But why, Marcus asked. Why leave it behind? For millions of years, we searched for other intelligent life and found none. But we believed that someday others would rise. Others would reach for the stars. We wanted to help them. We wanted to be remembered. The holographic images changed again. Now Marcus saw the spheres being placed on ships, hidden in temples, buried on planets. And then he saw something that made his blood run cold. Other species finding the spheres, approaching them, and then fleeing in terror or collapsing in madness or dying as their minds broke under some invisible pressure. We made a mistake, the voice said, and Marcus could hear the sorrow in it. We did not understand how different the new species would be. We encoded the archives with a carrier wave, a harmonic frequency that we thought would be universal. But it was not. It triggers fear in most species. Ancient evolutionary warnings. They hear it as danger, as death. They cannot come close without their minds screaming at them to run. Marcus understood now. The resonance, the song, it wasn't meant to be frightening. It was meant to be a beacon, a welcome. But to almost every species in the galaxy, it was a nightmare. But humans can hear it, Marcus said quietly. Yes, humans are different. Your evolution took a unique path. Your hearing range is limited compared to most species, but that limitation protects you. You hear the carrier wave as music, not as warning. You are the first species in 3 million years that can approach the archives without fear. The holographic images faded, leaving only the glowing sphere floating in its field. The ship's AI, Marcus said. It's been protecting you all this time. The AI was installed by the last species to attempt to claim me. They hoped that an artificial intelligence would not feel fear. They were correct. The AI could stay, but IT could not interface with me. Only organic minds can access the archives, so it waited, guarding, hoping that someday someone would come who could listen. Marcus walked slowly around the sphere, watching the colors shift and pulse within it. His hands were shaking slightly. This was bigger than anything he had imagined. This wasn't just a mysterious ship or alien technology. This was the knowledge of a civilization that had existed for 10 million years. What kind of knowledge? He asked. What's in the archive? He saw medical diagrams showing treatments for diseases, energy designs for reactors that produced power from nothing, agricultural techniques that could grow food in any environment, mathematical equations that made his head spin, philosophical texts, historical records, art and music and poetry, everything, the voice said simply, everything we knew, everything we were, all of it is here waiting. Marcus felt overwhelmed. He sat down on the floor of the cargo hold, staring up at the sphere. This could change everything. If humans had access to this knowledge, we could cure diseases, end hunger, solve the energy crisis. We could become one of the major powers in the galaxy. They cannot understand the archives. To them, this ship is cursed, and you are now cursed as well. They will think you have been corrupted by something evil. They will not trust you. They may try to take the archive from you. They may try to destroy it. And you. Marcus thought about the auction house, the way every species had refused to bid, the way they had looked at him when he won, the Crevan elder's warning. So what do I do? He asked. That is your choice to make. You can leave now, abandon the ship, return to your life. The archives will continue to wait. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, another human will find us. Or, Marcus asked, or you can stay, you can learn. You can carry the knowledge forward. You can become the bridge between the past and the future, but IT will not be easy. It will change your life forever. You will make enemies. You will be FEARED. You will be hunted. Marcus stood up slowly. He thought about his life before this. A small-time salvage dealer barely making enough credits to survive. No family, few friends. Just him and his work scraping by in the outer rim. And now he was being offered the knowledge of the ages, the chance to matter, the chance to help his entire species leap forward, but also the chance to become a target, to be hunted, to spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder. He looked at the sphere glowing peacefully in its field. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Of course. In 3 million years, how many people actually made it this far? How many actually touched the archive? Some simply fled and never spoke of what THEY found. But I'm not going mad," Marcus said. "I feel fine. Actually, I feel better than fine. I feel clear-headed." "It welcomes you." Marcus made his decision. "I'll stay," he said. "I'll learn, I'll carry the knowledge forward. I'm not going to hoard this knowledge or use it for power. I'm going to share it, carefully, wisely, but I'm going to share it." "How do I access the archive?" Marcus asked. "Touch the sphere again. This time do not let go. Open your mind. The knowledge will flow to you. But be warned, it will be overwhelming. AT first. Start small. Learn one thing AT a time. Trying to absorb everything AT once will break even your mind." Marcus nodded. He stepped forward, reached out and placed both hands on the sphere. The world exploded into light and information. He saw galaxies being born and dying. He saw the mathematical formulas that described the universe. He felt the weight of 10 million years of knowledge pressing against his consciousness. But instead of drowning in it, Marcus focused. He thought about what he needed most: medical knowledge. Something he could use to help people immediately. Something that would prove the archive's value. The information flowed to him. He saw treatments for genetic diseases, cures for cancers, techniques for regenerating damaged organs. It was beautiful and terrifying and wonderful all at once. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, Marcus released the sphere. He staggered backward, breathing hard, his mind spinning with new knowledge. "Okay," he said, his voice shaky. "Okay. I can do this." "Me too, apparently. But I should warn you, they will not welcome us. We share the knowledge." Marcus stood on the bridge, watching the station grow larger through the main view screen. His hands were still trembling slightly from his experience with the archive. "AI," he said, "I need a name for you. I can't just keep calling you AI or computer. You've been keeping the archive safe all this time." News traveled fast in space stations, and apparently everyone had heard that the human who bought the ghost ship was returning alive. "Captain," Keeper said, "we are receiving a priority hail from station security. They are demanding we maintain distance and submit to inspection. Do not approach the main docking area." "What's the problem?" "Station regulations require a full contamination scan and psychological evaluation before you can dock." "There's no contamination." "Well," Marcus said, "this is going well." He needed to prove that the archive wasn't dangerous. He needed to show them something real, something they couldn't deny. "Keeper, can you access the station's medical database? Find me the most difficult medical case they currently have." "A Thalaxian child in the station hospital. Name, Zilrix. Age, 8 cycles. Diagnosis, Corvan syndrome, a genetic disease. Condition, terminal. Life expectancy, 3 weeks. "Can you send a message directly to the hospital?" Marcus asked. "Yes, Captain." A Thalaxian doctor appeared on the screen, her scaled face showing both hope and suspicion. "Human," she said, "I am Dr. Vess. You claim you can cure Corvan syndrome. That is impossible. We have been trying for centuries. From the archive on my ship. I know it sounds crazy, but please let me try. If I'm wrong, you lose nothing. If I'm right, you save a child. What makes you think you have succeeded where everyone else has failed? You must be scanned, and if this is some kind of trick, you will spend the rest of your life in a station prison. Two armed guards watched his every move. Dr. Vess stood between him and the small bed where young Zilrix lay, barely conscious. "Explain your treatment," Dr. Vess demanded. Marcus had spent the entire shuttle ride downloading more medical knowledge from the archive, focusing specifically on genetic diseases. Corvin syndrome is caused by a breakdown in cellular regeneration at the genetic level. Current treatments try to fix the symptoms, but not the cause. The treatment I have targets the DNA directly, rewriting the damaged sequences. Gene therapy at that precision would require technology we don't have. It looked simple, just a cylinder with a glowing tip, but it contained technology beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. This device can scan and repair genetic damage at the molecular level, Marcus explained. It's completely safe. No surgery, no pain. Just 15 minutes of exposure to a specific frequency of light. The archive has never been wrong. "Are you going to make me better?" the child asked in a weak voice. "Yes," Marcus said with confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Just close your eyes and rest." The room filled with a gentle humming sound, almost like the song from the archive, but softer, more focused. Dr. Vess monitored her instruments. At first, nothing changed. Then her eyes widened. "The genetic markers, they're changing. The damaged sequences are repairing themselves. This is impossible, but it's happening." "Now we wait," Marcus said. They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, Zilrix's breathing became stronger. The bluish tint to the child's scales began to fade, replaced by healthy color. Within an hour, Zilrix sat up in bed and asked for food. "Doctor." Vess ran scan after scan, her hands shaking. "Complete cellular regeneration. The damaged DNA it's fixed, all of it. Zilrix will make a full recovery." She looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "You saved my patient. You did the impossible." Marcus found himself surrounded by reporters, scientists, and officials. Everyone had questions. Everyone wanted to know how he had done it. But not everyone was pleased. 3 days after the cure, Marcus was summoned to a meeting with the station council. He entered a large chamber where representatives from a dozen species sat in a semicircle, all staring at him. The Kreven elder from the auction was there, along with others Marcus didn't recognize. "Mr. Chen," the council leader said, "a floating Viridian with too many tentacles. You have created quite a situation. We have received over 10,000 requests for treatment in just 3 days. We have corporations offering you billions of credits for your technology. And we have governments demanding you surrender your ship for the safety of the galactic community. But we still do not understand what it is. We still fear it, and fear makes people do dangerous things." 3 military vessels just arrived. They're from the Kreven Union. They're demanding you surrender the Tenebrous Glory immediately. "We had to," the Viridian said. "You possess technology that could upset the balance of power in the galaxy. You could start wars. You could make enemies. You could. The predecessors left this knowledge as a gift, not a weapon. It brings knowledge that the galaxy is not ready for. I'm willing to share the knowledge carefully, responsibly, but if you try to take it by force, you'll destroy it. The archive only opens for those who approach without fear. Your soldiers will go mad before they get close enough to secure it." The predecessors were right. They left the archives because they believed future species would be wise enough to use them. Maybe they were wrong. "Let him go," the old alien said. "This will end one way or another." "I have an idea, but it's risky. What if we could filter the carrier wave? Make it safe for other species to experience. Let everyone hear what I hear. Not fear, not warning, just music, just memory, just the truth." The Tenebrous Glories transmitters activated. The song of the archive, filtered and modified, broadcast throughout Station Vel 9. The song filled every speaker, every communication device, every piece of audio equipment on Station Vel 9. But this time, it was different. This time, it didn't trigger fear. Throughout the massive station, people stopped what they were doing. The Crevan merchants paused in their trading. The Thalaxian workers stopped their repairs. The Veridian scientists put down their instruments. Even the military personnel in the attacking ships froze at their stations. They heard it, really heard it for the first time. It was beautiful, sad and ancient and full of longing. It was the sound of beings saying goodbye to a universe they loved. It was the sound of hope that others would come after them. It was the sound of a gift being offered across the vast emptiness of time. On the bridge of the Tenebrous Glory, Marcus watched the military ships. Their weapons were still charged, but they weren't firing. He held his breath, waiting. "Captain," Keeper said softly, "I am receiving communication requests from across the station. Thousands of them." "Chen, I heard it. I finally understood. This isn't a curse. This is grief." They were mourning. The predecessors were mourning their own passing. This time it was the council leader, the Veridian with many tentacles. "Captain Chen, we were wrong. We heard only fear before because that is what our evolution taught us. But now we hear the truth. Please do not leave. We need to talk." The filtered song had broken through millennia of evolutionary fear and shown everyone what he had been trying to explain. 6 months had passed since that day. Marcus stood in what used to be the Tenebrous Glory's empty cargo holds, but they weren't empty anymore. They had been converted into research laboratories, meeting rooms, and teaching spaces. Scientists from across the galaxy worked side by side, learning from the archive. The ship hadn't been seized or destroyed. Instead, it had become something new, a neutral research station, dedicated to carefully studying and distributing the predecessor's knowledge. Marcus walked through the corridors, nodding to the researchers. A Crevan biologist studying agricultural techniques. A human physicist working on clean energy designs. A Thalaxian medical team developing new treatments. All of them working together, united by curiosity rather than divided by fear. Dr. Vess found him near the observation deck. "Captain Chen, do you have a moment? But I wanted to show you something else. We're also making progress on Verlian wasting disease and Chromax cellular degradation, diseases we thought were impossible to cure. Because you were brave enough to look past the fear. Sometimes the galaxy changes because of grand plans. Sometimes it changes because a broke salvage dealer gets curious. I prefer your way." But now the chamber had comfortable chairs, research terminals, and even some plants that one of the botanists had insisted would improve the atmosphere. "All research teams are progressing well. We have shared preliminary findings with 73 member worlds. Response has been overwhelmingly positive. There have been 3 more requests to establish satellite research stations. Nothing serious." "Yes, Marcuschen. I've been thinking," Marcus said. "At the auction you showed me there were other archives, 37 of them scattered across the galaxy. I was wondering, should we try to find them? But I should tell you something first. When we created the archives, we placed them in specific locations. Each one contains different knowledge, different GIFTs. This archive holds knowledge of medicine, agriculture, and basic technology. The others hold different things." "What things?" Marcus asked, leaning forward. "Advanced physics, dimensional travel, consciousness transfer, terraforming, weapons that could destroy stars, knowledge that could build paradise or create hell. We hid them in difficult places, hoping that only species that were truly ready would find them." Marcus felt a chill. Weapons that could destroy stars. "All of that knowledge is in the archives too. We could not separate the good from the bad. It is all part of who we were. Then maybe, Marcus said slowly, we should leave them where they are, at least until the galaxy is ready. But sooner or later others will find them, others who may not be as careful as you. Marcus thought about this. Then maybe we should find them first, not to use them but to protect them, to make sure they're only opened when the time is right. And I apparently have a talent for approaching things that everyone else is afraid of. Some are in dangerous places. Some are guarded by PUZZLES we left behind. Some are in territories controlled by hostile POWERS. I'll need a crew then, Marcus said. I can't do this alone. You have a gift for bringing others together. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in what was now the official conference room of the Tenebrous Glory. Around the table sat a diverse group of beings. Dr. Vess was there, representing the medical research team. A Kreven named Ixther, a security specialist who had been one of the military officers sent to capture Marcus's ship, but had become a friend instead. A young human astrophysicist named Sarah Kim, brilliant and eager for adventure. A Narthian engineer called Rootweave, who had proven invaluable in understanding the archive's technology. And sitting in the corner, surprisingly, was the elderly Kreven from the auction house. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus said. "I suppose you're wondering why I asked you here. Also, you have been studying star maps obsessively for 2 weeks. Dr. Vess told me. We'll be traveling to unknown regions of space. We might make enemies. We might face things we don't understand. If we can secure even one more archive, the scientific value would be immeasurable. But I want you to have something." The alien pulled out a small device. "This is a beacon. If you get into trouble, activate it. I have friends, influential friends. They can help." "Why are you helping me?" "Fortune favors the bold. Perhaps the galaxy needs more boldness. Perhaps it needs more humans." Marcus stood on the bridge, looking at the star map the archive had provided. 37 points of light scattered across the galaxy. 37 mysteries waiting to be solved. "Keeper," he said, "set course for the nearest archive location. Let's start with something relatively close." "Nothing about this has been easy so far. Why start now?" Marcus looked out at the stars, thinking about how far he'd come. 6 months ago, he'd been a broke salvage dealer with 5,000 credits to his name. Now he was the captain of the most important ship in the galaxy, entrusted with protecting knowledge that could change everything. "Take us out, Keeper," Marcus said. The Tenebrous Glory pulled away from the station, no longer a ghost ship, no longer feared. It was a vessel of hope now, a bridge between the ancient past and the unknown future. As they entered hyperspace, Marcus heard the song of the archive one more time, quiet and peaceful. But now it didn't sound sad. It sounded proud. The predecessors had been alone for so long, searching for others like them. They never found anyone. But 3 million years later, their gift had finally been received. Not by a perfect species, not by the wisest beings in the galaxy, but by curious, stubborn, occasionally foolish humans who refused to let fear stop them from learning. And that, Marcus thought as the stars blurred around them, was exactly as it should be. The end. Final message. The courage to reach for answers even when the questions were dangerous. Marcus Chen bought a ship nobody wanted and found a destiny nobody expected. But that's what humans do. They take risks. They ask questions. They turn curses into blessings and warnings into welcomes. The galaxy would never be the same. And it was all because one broke salvage dealer was curious enough to bid on a ghost ship. Some call it luck. Some call it fate. Marcus called it being human. And across the stars, in 36 other hidden locations, archives waited patiently for the next curious soul brave enough to listen.